the life of a hunter. It's not about an end result. It's about a journey to find who we are, to discover where we've come from. It's an effort to overcome challenge and adversity. We provide food for the table while fighting to restore the foundations our forefathers have laid. They may bend, but they will not break. And so we fight with a heart of respect. You see, it's not an effort to look down on anyone, but rather an effort to look back at where we've come from, and most importantly, where we'll be if we don't. You see, it's our life. You can stand with us, or you can stand against us, but the life of a hunter is our DNA. We've all come from hunters, and so we continue to move ahead as hunters. You see, this is who we are. This is our creed. This is our life. This is our given right. Since the beginning of time, men have hunted to provide for their families. It was a way of life then, and it's still a way of life now. Hunting is something that can unite different people from different areas to have the same goals in life. So when you take a simple man from Louisiana and a businessman originally from Pennsylvania and allow them to exercise their God-given right to hunt, they come together to form a bond like not many things in this world can.
Man, what a deer. Oh!
I have been doing this for 20 years. It is hard to believe that sometimes, but I have loved it every step of the way. But who better to tell my story than Will Primos, Michael Waddell, and of course, my best friend, my daddy.
Well, those are good times and good memories. And oh, hadn't Kenneth come a long way. Started his own show, The Given Right, and now he's on the Discovery Channel. And I know his friends, me, all those that know him are proud of him and for him. And he will represent the world that we love so much, the great sport of hunting, so well. So enjoy your time watching Kenneth Lancaster on The Given Right.
Kenneth was born in East Carroll Parish in the town of Lake Providence, Louisiana in 1972. And by the time that little boy was born, I loved him to death. He run around all the time. He wanted to wear his camouflage clothes, his little rubber boots, and he just loved, he wanted to go hunting. From the first time I took him hunting, he always wanted to go hunting. Daddy was going hunting. Daddy was going hunting.
I've known Kenneth Lancaster for a long time. I think I met Kenneth in 95 or 96. I don't recall the exact year, but I know it's been a long time. And right away, I mean, when I met him, I mean, it was like I've known him all my life. I mean, one is he grew up in Louisiana, I grew up in Georgia, and right away, our passion for hunting and the outdoors, the simpler things in life, family, friends, and the way we took the approach to kind of everyday living, it was dead on. I mean, Kenneth loved his family. He loved to hunt. He was serious about his job, but I think the biggest thing that struck me about Kenny was the fact of how fun he was to be around, man. He was real fun. He was great at what he did, but at the same time, he didn't take himself too seriously. We could laugh, we could cut up, and really about the only thing he took serious was really trying to put a turkey in the back of the truck or maybe put a whole big old whitetail down or elk.
As Kenneth was growing up in Lake Providence, his father was working at a mobile home factory, which at the time was in the process of being shut down. So his father decided to move them from Louisiana to Mississippi. Uprooting Kenneth from all of his friends was not easy, but Kenneth had to use the outdoors to get his mind off things and make the process easier.
This little white house on the right up here with the bass boat underneath it. Right there, that little white house is that's where I grew up. if you go out the back of the house right there, it ain't nothing but fields for as far as you can see and as far as you would want to go that way. And the lake is right there. And then there's another little store right up here, but golly, that house looks little, man, now compared to what it used to be.
Yeah, but there's a lot of good times there, man.
Good gracious, look at that.
There were a lot of lakes and creeks around Pearl right there. He could go fishing.
I can remember putting in here in a little old 12-foot boat, me and you and Mama, in here brim fishing.
Yeah, man,
and
yeah.
we'd run by and buy 75 crickets up there. You know, back then you could buy 75 crickets for $1.50.
Yeah.
And we'd start fishing, and you'd be in the front of the boat, sculling that paddle, and you'd paddle up to them stumps, and you could reach way out with that cane pole and drop it down by them stumps. And then we'd get home, and every time, I'd never forget it, we'd get home and we would have so many fish in the cooler. Daddy'd open the cooler and look down, he'd go, why did we keep this many fish? We have to clean them
I
now.
had to get the spoon out and go to scaling them, you know.
Yeah, we didn't fillet them.
Fillet nothing, you
No,
know.
we scaled them and
gunned them out, man.
And, yeah, put them up whole.
Ooh,
Man,
that was some good eating, though, man. That was
It
some
was.
good eating. And he's just a blessing to be around anybody. He's just a good little boy, and I just love him to death.
With Big and J, it's not a matter of if your deer will show up, it's simply a matter of when. Big and J Long Range Attractants. The aroma is super strong, the range is super long. Everyone wishes they could do what they love for a living, something they have found a true passion for. So with the drive Kenneth had as a kid, it was no surprise he was working in a bow shop by the time he was 22. At the time, the archery industry was growing at a rapid pace, with bows being produced all over the country. This was a perfect time for Kenneth to do what he had a true passion for, and also enter into a field of work he had always wanted to be in.
So Kenneth went to work for Eddie, Ronnie Frisch, and he still loved to hunt and bow hunt, shooting them bows, and just enjoying life, just working at that bow shop. But one day, Kenneth came home and he said, Daddy, he said, Mr. Ronnie, Mr. Frisch said they got the archery shop up for sale.
Here I am, 22 years old. I don't have $60,000. So I go to my dad and I said, Daddy, I wanna buy this archery shop. So my daddy said, well, son, if you wanna do it, I'll do it with you, but here is the deal.
I said, well, what kind of help this big old boy need? He said, man, I said, Daddy, I need some money. I said, money? He said, yeah. He said, yeah. I said, I want to buy this bow shop. He said, I think I can make a run. He said, what do you think? I said, I'll tell you what, son. I said, I'll make you a deal.
I will come up with my $30,000, but you have to come up with $30,000. Well, at the time, I owned a 92 model Chevrolet pickup truck. I had an 870 model shotgun that had a bunch of scratches on it. I owned a 7400 30-06 rifle and a bow and arrow, and I owed money on the truck.
Kenneth was faced with a tough decision, losing his job or coming up with the $60,000 to buy the archery shop and continue to build his dream. With his dad backing half the money, Kenneth still had to find the other $30,000. So he went back to the bank to see if he could get a loan, and reluctantly, they approved him.
So I come up with the money to buy this archery shop. And 4 days later, I'm working at the shop and walks in Will Primos.
Oh, the story of Kenneth Lancaster. You know, trying to expose more people to the products that Primos was making when video became available and we could buy decent cameras. That was in 1986. I started trying to video things and share it, put it on VHS tapes, and that was a pretty big success, and had several different people who were great at doing that. Chuck Jones, Ron Jolly, they did a great job. Jeff Sherwood later on. But I was without a cameraman. Ron Jolly made a transition, and I I needed a cameraman. And I knew Kenneth Lancaster. He worked at Frith Archery in South Jackson. And I was in there, and sometimes I'd see him in there pretty frustrated dealing with the public and being in retail and confined all day long. It wasn't Kenneth, but I knew he was a hunter and I knew he could hunt.
Will looked over at me and he said, Kenneth, he said, I just want to ask you something. He said, do you think you're going to be happy tied down to an archery shop, having to work 6-7 days a week at this archery shop? And I said, well, Will, you know, archery's my passion. The outdoors is my passion. I said, and this is the way I feel like I can get into it. He said, well, I have another way that I think you could get into it that you may enjoy just a little bit more than being tied down to an archery shop.
So I asked if he'd like to talk to me about maybe coming to work. Little did he know that I had a trip booked to Illinois, had gotten a trailer moved in so I'd have a place to stay, and I talked him into it. He came to my house, we visited. Next thing we knew, we're driving to Illinois. I think that was like 2 days later. Memory fades, but I think that's about right.
That night at Will Primos's house would change my life forever.
Swagger. When mobility matters, any terrain, any situation, shoot with confidence. Shoot with Swagger, the bipod with moves. As a young man growing up in the mountains of Dunbar, Pennsylvania, Mark Heck always used the work ethic his parents instilled within him and applied to his own passions. Whether it was growing multiple successful businesses from the ground up or his true passion, hunting, Mark never forgot his deep family roots and lessons of perseverance, showing the world a glimpse into his life and what drives him every day to be a husband, father, son, brother, friend, businessman, and last but not least, a hunter.
Mark Heck, you know, Mark and I have become great friends in a really short period of time. And, you know, and what is so ironic about that is he and I are totally different, but so much alike at the same time. Mark is from Pennsylvania, and I'm from Louisiana. So somewhere along the way, he and I met in the middle and became really good friends. And the common bond that he and I share is hunting.
You know, I grew up in the backwoods of a small town in Pennsylvania, southwestern Pennsylvania, called Dunbar, Pennsylvania. I grew up with meager means. My mom and dad both worked, factory workers. One of 4 kids, I was the oldest. My brother Kevin was right next to me. He was 4 years younger than me, and then my 2 younger sisters. So, you know, growing up, meager means, but what they did instill to us was work ethic. That's kind of what, you know, we all talk about. And so before I could go fishing, before I could go hunting, before I could do anything, I had chores, just like being on a farm. We never wanted for anything though, even though we had no money. I say no money, you know, meager means, I'll use that term. Not a lot of money, but we had everything we wanted. If I wanted a new fishing pole, wanted a new 22. My mom and dad made it work.
With growing up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, Mark would spend most of his early childhood fishing and being in the outdoors with his father.
I was 9, 10, 11 years old. My mom and dad dropped me off in the creek different times. You know, you a little safer, a little more free back then than they are now. They dropped me off on a creek like this, pocket full of night crawlers. I'd fish this thing until they come pick me up at dark, day after day after day. And I would work. I'd cut grass. I had two paper routes. I would do anything to make a couple dollars so I could go fishing. You know, and that's how I grew up. And believe me, Iowa and Pennsylvania, really close. Same concept, same view, just incredible. I love it here.
As Mark grew older and started venturing out into the woods, he became more interested in hunting. That passion grew exceptionally, and now Mark has hunted all over the world pursuing big game animals.
What a sweet encounter.
I remember specifically, my dad was a bow hunter. I can tell you, probably wasn't that good of one, but he was a bow hunter. And he had this old Ben Pearson bow, and I can remember it because I kept it till I was like 30 or 35 years old. I might even still have it someplace, but I kept it. And I remember him stringing it for the first time when I was young, watching him do that and saying, what the heck is he doing? I don't understand this. But you're gonna laugh at what really got me intrigued. The arrows. The fletchings on the arrows were bright yellow and orange. If I was 6, 7 years old, that was kind of cool.
And when you touched them and you went like this, they made a noise. They were real fletchings, So at 5, 6, I just thought that was cool. And I would sneak into his closet. He doesn't know this till this day. Sorry, Dad. He doesn't know this till this day, until he sees this interview. 'Cause I forgot about it, to be honest with you. I would sneak in and touch those and play with them in this closet all the time. I was just intrigued. Does that make me a hunter? No. But what did was, I would ask him to go with him, and he'd just kind of chuckle, rub me on the head, and dismiss me and say, go on, do your thing.
As Mark started to fall in love with bow hunting, his passion grew, which ultimately led him to the Midwest. Now Mark has farms in several different states, including Iowa, Kansas, and Minnesota. Mark has turned what started off as a fun hobby into a true passion.
He shares the exact same passion that I have for it, and shares the passion of our given right of being able to hunt.
I'm that way with everything I do. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's work, if it's vacation, if it's hunting, I'm passionate. I'm in with both feet. There's never a time where I walk at it. I'm running full tilt. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I like everything neat. I like everything clean. That that type A personality. That's kind of, you're looking at the picture for that.
Every hunt is defined by a single moment. Don't let the moment define you. Experience perfection and make your next hunt an expedition. When Kenneth started this journey, no one would ever imagine where it has taken him and his close friends. Everyone knew something inside Kenneth was special, and with a little guidance from some of the best people you could ask for, Kenneth, Mark, and the Given Right have soared to new heights and even bigger adventures to come.
And I ran around a telephone pole and made him follow me with the camera, made him turn the camera on and off to make sure he could at least use the camera, look through the viewfinder, and see what he was videoing. Well, we were fired up, killed a big old buck. He didn't go far, drug him up that big old hill. I think that buck scored 163. At that time, that was the biggest buck I'd ever killed. And we had a lot of fun.
It's funny how, I guess, a sport like hunting, unlike a lot of other things, it can stay with you all your life, from young to old. A lot of sports you play, you've got to play your younger years, professional football, baseball, whatever it is. You have a time limit. Hunting is one of those things you don't. And as you get older, you run into other people that have the exact same feelings about that and a passion about that sport that you do.
I think that's where the God-given right kind of comes into it. I've always thought that it was our right as a human being to hunt the good Lord's renewable resource, and what better way to signify it than the given right. It is our given right to hunt and fish, and I think Kenneth sums that up really seriously and really completely with his personality and how he lives his life.
Celebrating our given right to hunt has been something that every hunter has been able to pass down from generation to generation. So when you take two hunters with a passion like Kenneth and Mark have, you create a spark that is sure to create some amazing adventures to come.
Stop him. I'm nervous now. Oh, look at this. Yes. Oh, look at this thing. Never apologize to a God-given right to hunt, baby.
goodness, Holly. You might have just killed a Boone Crockett. Holy smokes. Jacob, look at this deal. Are you kidding me? What? Never, ever apologize for your God-given right to hunt.
The veterans sacrificed more than you could understand. And I think that's the reason this country is so free today, that you can hunt the way you want to hunt, and you have the freedom to do what you want to do.